Hello, everyone, and welcome to PTIsles, the only Islanders panel discussion show. I'm Joe Bono, and we are reunited, and it feels so good. Back with us is both Connor Moore and Brittany Sider. Connor, you're back, and you're back in New York. How you doing, pal?
I'm good, man. I'm cold. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm acclimated to the weather, not like yourself
It'll
down in Florida. And meanwhile, I know Brittany. She stays warm watching Islander games, normally with a beer, which should be cold, but also with her Islander PJs. Britt, are you wearing them yet again?
A little bit, a little bit. I got them on. I washed them after our 3-game skid, and now they're good to go again.
Well, we all needed a bit of a cleansing after that 3-game skid and blowing multiple 3-goal leads, a couple third-period leads, and then the debacle against the Blues. After tying the game up at 2. All right, so we're going to do this like we always do. The rundown is down the left-hand side of the screen. I'm going to start with Monday night's game, a 3-2 win in the shootout over the Devils. And Connor, you know what? Josh Bailey has been struggling since he came back with the broken hand, but he really was the difference in this game. Got the goal to make it 2-1 and bring momentum after the Islanders started out very, very flat. And then he gets the game winner in the shootout as well. Big game for Josh Bailey.
Yeah, very big game for Jay Bales. I always say he's good in every 5 games. I mean, he kind of gets quiet down. He's a good possession player. Doesn't put up the points that you'd expect with the amount he's getting paid. So the expectation from a lot of people is kind of higher than you'd expect for him. But he gets the job done. He's starting to prove his worth, and he's coming around now. And I think he's going to stick around once these roster decisions have to get made.
And Josh Bailey even got some time on the top line, and I know, Brittany, you're very opinionated about the top line, and, John Tavares had, one of, I think, his worst games of the season. I mean, he's been putting points up on the board, getting his goals, getting his assists for most games, but you saw a frustration with the captain tonight that we haven't seen. Penalty earlier in the game, and then right before the end of regulation, just a spear, a hook. He got 2 minutes, could have gotten more. What do you think is going on with Tavares right now?
I mean, we saw it a couple games ago when our friend Connor fined John Tavares in the sin bin, throwing his helmet down and probably using few choice expletives at the same time. I imagine, I don't know, I'm not a pro athlete, but I imagine it's got to be crazy frustrating to be a superstar. And, the first line just isn't producing. It's something we've talked about this whole season. It just doesn't seem to be the same. The other night against the Blackhawks, they seem to get moving a little bit more, but they're still, Okposo scored, but it still doesn't look like John Tavares. It still doesn't look like him, and I think he knows that. And, as a superstar, it's kind of hard to commit like a penalty like that with 2 minutes left in the game. You could cost your team 2 pretty big points right there, and this isn't a game that you want to lose to the Devils after coming off of a win from Chicago. So I think he needs to somehow, as frustrating as it is, find that discipline and make sure that that frustration isn't coming out until he gets back to the locker room.
And you say that you don't think the superstar should be making that move. Oh, let me jump in real quick. You say that you don't think a superstar should be making that moves, but it's more, I don't think a captain should be making those moves and taking the penalty late in the game. And as far as his frustration, and I don't mean to come at you like that or anything, just keeping the conversation going.
I totally agree with you.
I think that it's not that he's frustrated with his production, because the production is there. He's close to a point per game. Post is a little lower, but he's still getting his points up on the board. I think he's frustrated with himself and the decisions he's making. I always get on his case for the no-look backhand passes that are always giveaways. It's the patented JT giveaway. And like I said, I don't think it's his production that's frustrating him. I think it's his decisions and just some of the spots he's putting himself in that aren't truly coming to fruition. That's really getting on his case. And it's John Tavares. We all know the type of player he is. When he's not doing well, he's going to be the first person to tell you. So I think he's going hard on himself for what he's been doing and how he's producing, but how he's been producing of late.
Hey, I agree with you, and I totally agree on the production point that he's just below point per game right now. But I think it's kind of hard, especially in New York, in this sports state that we are. It's hard to ignore fan comments. It's hard to ignore the post-game, pre-game stuff. It's hard to ignore what's being said around the fan base, and you can't ignore the fact, as Tavares, you can ignore the fact that fans are saying that there's no chemistry. Analysts are saying the same thing, and he's got to be frustrated with the fact that he's hearing all of this stuff, and he's hearing, even if his production isn't that far off, that he's been hearing that something needs to change, and he's just looking for it to do that. And I'm not sure that, I just think it's a compilation of things right now, and he's just feeling really frustrated out there.
Yeah.
And if talking about things needing to change, we'll move to the Islanders' special teams and their penalty kill. Despite all the good things the Islanders have done this season, the wins, Halak and net, the balanced scoring, improved D, they do one thing worse than every other team in the NHL, and that is kill penalties. Islanders gave up another power play goal tonight. Entering the game against the Devils, they were only killing 71.6% of power plays. To put that in perspective, the Chicago Blackhawks, who were at the Coliseum on Saturday night, they're killing nearly 91% of power plays. They have 43 points. Somehow the Islanders have 42 points, despite the penalty kill being so bad. Connor, everyone has their theories. What do you believe is the problem on the penalty kill?
I don't think there's a set theory or a set solution. I don't think it's move one guy out and another guy in, and that's going to be the quick fix. I just think, and I don't want to jump on the coaching. I don't want to jump on the coaching scapegoat, but I think that it's just a little bit of everything. It's really hard to pinpoint the one problem. I think not having Grabner there for a long time has kind of hurt them for the past couple of years. He's been known as the team's stronger player on the PK. So I don't know. I can't get the words. I can't come to the right words. But I don't think it's one set solution. I think it's a little bit of everything that's kind of bringing this PK down, and it's going to be a process to really get things going again and come up from. I think they are dead last in the league on the PK.
Dead last by a pretty wide margin. I mean, if you look at the other teams that are in the lower third in the penalty kill category, there's only a handful. I mean, Calgary, a couple others. But the majority of teams that are at the bottom half of the league in penalty kill percentage are some of the worser teams in the league, which makes it even that much more remarkable, Britt, that they've been able to continue to win at the clip that they're winning, now 21 wins in 31 games, despite the penalty kill being as bad as it's been.
I mean, I was actually going to jump in on what Connor was saying and say that the penalty kill, as bad as it is, any other year this team would not have 21 wins on the season, and I think you have no choice but to attribute a lot of that to Halak. And you cannot have such a poor PK and still come out with wins if your goaltender is not as solid gets. He's shown time and time again that he's reliable. He can hold teams to 2 to 3 goals in a game with the worst PK unit in the league. I mean, we know that he's broken a franchise record. We know that he went, 12 in a row. We know all those things, but when you actually see a team that is dead last in the league on the PK and is still pulling out 21 wins, 31 games into the season, that's incredible. We can't ignore the effect that he's had for us being the worst PK unit in the league.
Yeah, and you know what? In a lot of ways, in some ways actually, it's a good thing that they've been able to do what they've been able to accomplish with the penalty kill being as bad as it is, because if they can right that, if they become a complete team and get their special teams going, then the power play can certainly get better, and obviously there's nowhere to go but up when it comes to the penalty kill. I mean, this team could be even more dangerous than they are right now. Some people think it's a lack of pressure, too much of a box on the penalty kill, allowing teams to dictate the flow to them. Others think it's just a matter of desire and not being able to clear the puck on some very good opportunities to do so. Whatever it is, they need to figure it out. You would hope that in practices and in morning skates, this is what they're emphasizing. This is what they're spending the majority of the time on, because it is right now the glaring weakness on the team. Let's move forward. So we're a little bit over a third of the way of the season, 21 wins in 31 games. First time the Islanders have done that in franchise history. So we thought we would each nominate one game for the biggest win of the season thus far. Brittany, kick us off. What's your best game of the year so far? Best victory of the year, I should say.
I know that it seems like it's just more relevant right now, maybe because of the time, but I think it would be difficult to argue that the game against Chicago on Friday night wasn't the biggest win of the season for multiple reasons. One, we saw a little bit of a shift in lineup with Bailey coming back after having a nagging injury for a while, Reinhart coming back in and demonstrating his physicality and strength in a game against the best team in the Central Division and the second team in the Western Conference who was coming off of an 8-game winning streak. So not only did we snap their 8-game winning streak coming in, we also snapped our own 3-game losing skid, 2 of which were pretty horrible emotional losses to blow 2 3-goal leads. So, I mean, and also just having Oposo and Wisnowski score 51 seconds apart, that just got the crowd back into it. It got everyone back on board, the fan base coming off those emotional 3 losses. You have some big goals, you have a change in lineup, and it was a big moral upswing for us to actually pull out a win against one of the best teams in the Western Conference. And
fortunate that they were able to back that up with a win Monday night against the Devils. Connor, what's your biggest win of the season so far? Blackhawk game off the table.
I'm actually going to go with Monday night's win against the Devils. When Jersey went up 2 goals early, I was ready to tweet, it's going to be one of those nights. It's going to be a laugher. I mean, we might as well turn the game off now. Bailey got that goal, kind of boosted some life into them, and then late in the second period, you kind of saw it die down again. So I'm thinking, if you get that big win against Chicago, yeah, it's good a momentum. You break, like Brittany said, you break that 3-game streak. But if you then back that up with a loss to Jersey, all that momentum is wiped away heading into a tough weekend against Detroit and Tampa Bay. So I think coming out tonight, continuing the streak of, I think it's now 9 straight games of in OT or shootout with wins, I feel like if they didn't win tonight, Chicago doesn't even count. It's all momentum's lost. So tonight was a big win.
If I could just jump in for a quick second, I totally agree with you that tonight really solidified that emotional shift, but I would argue that the Islanders deserve to win on Friday more than they deserve to win tonight. So I think when you look at the actual play, tonight was kind of, they came out half asleep in the first period, still looked that way in the second, and Halak, again, kept them in over the course of the first period. That game would not have been the score that it was and would not have gone into overtime had they, they should have been playing better. They played much better on Friday night.
It's been nice to see this team win games when they're not playing their best, and that's the mark of a really good team, is that every night you're not going to have your A game, but somehow they're able to win games with their C game, with their B- game, and I think that was evidenced again Monday night against the Devils. As for me, I'll go to the other 3-game losing streak they had this season. Remember, the Islanders were 6-2. They fell to 6-5. They had losses against the Winnipeg Jets, got shut out against the Avalanche, lost in San Jose, and then they were going to Anaheim in a game where a lot of Islander fans, myself included, stayed up 1:30 in the morning, and John Tavares scores the goal in overtime to win that game and propelled them onto a very lengthy period of playing some great hockey. So obviously the Blackhawk game was huge, halt that 3-game winning streak. Almost equally important was them on that West Coast trip when their record had fallen to 6-5 after 3 straight losses. Let's move on to the story that's kind of taking over the NHL right now. And you watch SportsCenter or read the paper, it's always funny that the NHL gets their most coverage right now because of the mumps. So 13 NHL players now, 2 referees, have been diagnosed with the mumps. This is a potentially severe and exceedingly viral infection that classically causes fever, body aches, malaise, and in about a half of cases, a painful swelling of the glands. If you've seen the pictures of Sidney Crosby looking like Will Smith from the movie Hitch, you know what we're talking about. Brittany, question for you. If you had the choice right now where either one of your friends, someone close to you, could get the mumps, or Yaroslav Halak, they're both going to be okay. Ooh. Which one would you choose?
Ooh.
It depends who's listening to this right now, right?
And a reminder that Chad Johnson, who gives up 5 goals a game right now, is Halak's backup. How about this? Would you give yourself the mumps for 3 to 4 days? Swollen glands, can't leave, but Halak's okay.
I don't know if I can answer that question on something that's going online so that other people can hear it. I guess I would take the bullet.
That's a dedicated fan right there. Very dedicated fan.
I would never wish that upon any family member or friend, and I honestly wouldn't wish it on Yaroslav Halak. Is Chad Johnson an option?
I mean, maybe better she would give Halak the mumps for about a week, but I don't think right now anyone wants to see Chad Johnson in the net. The Islanders don't play back-to-back games for quite a while, so who knows when he'll be back in. They do play Friday, Saturday. Go ahead.
Wait, I'm going to give you the Islanders' Twitter answer for that question. You ready?
Oh, I know where this is going.
Brian Straight gets the mumps for the rest of the season, and nobody else.
You know what, Britt? The guy has just left the team for some personal reasons. We don't know exactly
I'm giving you the Islanders' Twitter response, not my response. I'm giving you what everybody else would say.
Out of left field. Can I just say that I think it's crazy that there's people on Twitter today, and this is just Isles Twitter to new lengths. There's people today that are saying that the Islanders are conspiring and making up fake injuries for people to kind of to not have to make the roster decisions with a healthy roster. And I think that's as Isles Twitter can get.
Well, they have been fortunate. I will say that it seems like this big roster move. I mean, they finally had to waive Corey Conacher, cleared waivers shockingly, and obviously he's returned to Bridgeport. But obviously another big move is coming, especially when they got to activate Hamanek and/or Boychuk. So, but apparently there's always a lower body injury. There's an upper body injury. Somehow, some way, they avoid making that move. But the Islanders at this point have been very, very fortunate, knock on wood, where they have not had to deal with the mumps, while more and more NHL teams have to do it. It's a crazy thing because really it's something growing up you don't even think about because everyone's pretty much vaccinated. There's only about under 100 cases in the United States a year. And here you have over a dozen NHL players getting it, and I know it's a product of how the game is played, but just wild what's going on with the mumps. Let's move on to some rumors that kind of hit the NHL world this afternoon. Hours after Edmonton fired their head coach, Dallas Eakins, rumors swirling that 23-year-old left wing and 2010 number 1 overall pick Taylor Hall is uncoachable and will be on the trade block. He had 27 goals, 80 points a season ago, 8 goals, 10 assists through 25 games this year. Islanders can use a left wing on that top line that's been so underwhelming so far this season. Connor, if you are Garth Snow, what would you
It's a tough call.
offer? Even make an offer, but if you did,
what
who would you be offering up?
Ooh, that's a curveball to me. $6 million through 2020. I mean, he's a point per. Oh man, you really just threw me for a knot.
Well, just so what? Well, we'll start from this. We'll start from the beginning. Would you be interested in acquiring Taylor Hall?
Would I be interested? Yes. They say he's uncoachable, but they say that about Josh Ho-Sang just because he's an outspoken player. You're getting a point per player. You're getting a point per game player over his career in Edmonton, which says a lot by me. $6 million a year. Islanders have money to spend. Signed through 2020, so that Stanley Cup window is going to be fed for him. I would take that leap and go for it. I mean, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. See what you can get at the end of the year. But I would take that leap for Taylor Hall. If it meant a Stanley Cup, I'm taking it.
Brittany, would you risk team chemistry right now and make a move like that to bring in Taylor Hall?
I mean, I honestly don't know where the uncoachable stuff comes from. I think that when you say uncoachable, he has a poor attitude in the locker room or anything like that. I think it could be problematic for a group of young guys. I think it could potentially have an effect on locker room morale. However, I think it's really difficult to look at an elite winger to sign him through his prime at $6 million a season. I'm not sure how you could pass that up, especially because in my recent memory, I was at the Coliseum last year in October when he scored 2 goals in 8 seconds against John Tavares, Kyle Opozo, and Grabner. So it's difficult for me to think about.
Hypothetically, right now, if Edmonton said, if you want Taylor Hall, it's going to cost you Ryan Strome, Ryan Pulak, and either Dalcol or Ho-Sang.
No, not at all. Not at all. I'd hang up I wouldn't even give him an answer. I'd hang up the phone.
So 2 minor leaguers and one guy who's playing, on your third line for a top line winger signed through 2020 that could play with Tavares and Oposo. The answer is no?
Nope.
I'd have to think about it. I don't know what Dalcol and Ho-Sang are going to be at the NHL level. Pulak is close, but the Islanders have have some other depth defense. And Strome obviously has taken big strides, but if I'm a GM, that's the guy I'm calling about, given his age and what he's done.
I think before you think about giving up someone like Brian Strome, you really want to exhaust the options that you already have on the team, and I don't think we've really done that yet. So I think everyone's talking about how Pozo and Tavares are really just right below point per. So why wouldn't you attempt to see how Brock does on that line for an extended period of time, not 10 minutes of a game? So if you really want to mix things up, I think it might be a good idea to look inward before giving up somebody like Ryan Strome or someone along those lines.
I think it'll be very interesting to see what Edmonton does. Obviously, they're in a state of flux again. It's amazing how many poor years they've had. I mean, the Islanders went through this as well. And I think probably his value will be highest in the summer. We'll see whether or not Craig McTavish has the patience to stick with him through this year if they've soured on him as much as the reports indicate. And some others will be at the Coliseum and at the Coliseum parking lot on Saturday at the tailgate against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I tell you what, guys, I know Christmas is coming, Christmas Eve, New Year's. I'm looking forward to 12/20. That's been the date that's been circled on my calendar now for quite some time. Brittany, excited to say the least about kind of being with not only the people from Miles blog, but a lot of Islander fans we also know that are going to be there before the game and obviously leading up to the game at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm so pumped. I bought these tickets 2 months ago as part of my 8 days of Hanukkah. So that will be hopefully a present for the fourth night. And I'm super pumped. I think it's going to be a phenomenal game. I think it's going to be another sellout. I cannot wait.
And Connor, this is your first game of the season, right? Because you were down in Florida, so you got to be pumped up to be at the Coliseum on a Saturday night.
I couldn't be more excited. You guys knew I had a flight on the 22nd. I was doing everything I could to try and push that to an earlier date so I could try and make this date. Luckily, I'm in New York a couple weeks early. As soon as I knew I was going to be here, bought my tickets, got ready. Couldn't be more excited.
And the Islanders will be playing the second game of a back-to-back. They play Friday night in Detroit, so they will need the crowd throughout Saturday night. And I'm sure we'll be tweeting from wherever we are in the parking lot before the game. If you're one of the followers of OG and you see a tweet, come over, say hello. We'd love to meet you guys, talk Islander hockey before we head into the Coliseum. All right, that wraps up another edition of PTIsles. Connor, Brittany, fun as always. Great to be back together again. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to everyone real soon. Once again, let us know what your topics are. Let us know what you want us to discuss. Hashtag PTIsles. I'm at jbono611. Brittany's at Apple Cider with 2 R's. Connor at CM Isles blog. We'll talk to you again next week.